The Todd Shapiro Show.
I was a nut of a fan when it came to wrestling way in the day. And I remember watching this next guest walk down the ramp of Maple Leaf Gardens with Macho Man Randy Savage. I was like, my dad would take me down there. I was probably like a 13-year-old boy. And I've literally been in awe with him ever since, following his career, leading up into politics, watching him become the governor of Minnesota, watching what he's done.
In Predator.
And being an incredible actor. He's been known as the Body, the Great, the Governor, and now many are calling him the Mind. Jesse Ventura joins us. How you doing, Jesse?
Well, it's better than what I usually am now, the old. I went on Medicare this year.
Oh no, man! What are you? What are you? 70? What are you? 70? What?
No, I'm 65. That's bad enough.
Okay. You're not old. You're not. 65 isn't old.
Yeah, right.
He's a wrestler, though.
Tell that to me every time I work out every day.
Well, you're still working out every day. That says a lot, right, Jesse? You know how many people don't work out every day? There's an epidemic of people not working out, man.
Oh, yeah. No, I train very hard. I actually train as hard today as I did in my wrestling days, but I just train differently. I do 300 repetitions of a body part with weights, but I do 20 reps to a set now, so I go much lighter. And then I do between a marathon and 40 miles on the elliptic machine every week.
Get the fuck out of here, bro. That's incredible.
Jesus.
Well, no, I stopped running because I had to have hip replacement surgery, but I had the new technique at the time. This was in '08, called hip resurfacing. A triathlete told me about it. And what they do, they don't cut your femur bone anymore. They still dislocate you, but they cover you with carbon titanium steel, and then they just put you back together. It's like resurfacing the road.
Wow.
And it works great. If it weren't for that, I'd be an invalid in a wheelchair today because at the time I couldn't walk 15 feet without having to sit down because of pain.
Wow.
And so, but because of that, and now I'm back, like I said, I do between a marathon, 26 miles, and between that and about 41 or 42 miles a week, depending upon my schedule.
You're ready for competition.
Well, not anymore, but the doctor had told me, he said guys over 40 shouldn't run. Not that they're incapable of it, but the pounding. He said with today's world and the technology, you can do elliptic machine, which is running without the pounding. See, it's the pounding that beats you up, not the running itself. And so if you can eliminate the pounding, you'll get the same exercise benefits without beating your body to a pulp.
We're talking about two different types of pounding, right? Because I still like to pound once in a while. You know what I'm saying, Jesse? I brought it. You know what I'm saying, bro? You didn't like that one.
Hello, Jesse. This is Anthony Corella here on the mic. How you doing?
I'm doing okay.
I just I wrestled with WWE for the last 10 years. So I just actually retired in July, and I'm only 42. But it took a little while, but because my body was banged up. I had double cervical fusion.
Oh, yeah. Well, I actually retired before you. I retired at 39.
Oh, yeah. Just from body breaking down?
No, it was just from my contract breaking down with Vince and WC. Then I signed with WCW strictly for the money, and then when that thing ran its course, I wasn't going to be welcomed back to Vince because I sued him in federal court and got royalties for anything that I appear on. And because I owned the copy. See, that was the problem. That's why Vince had to get rid of me. Because I was the cow that was outside of the corral, or the horse outside the corral. I owned my copyrighted name and likeness, and I wouldn't relinquish it to him unless he paid me for it. And so he couldn't have someone like me on the loose when he owned everybody. And so that's why he let me go. And then in federal court, I beat him on a quantum merit case. And since then, I've had a WWF or WWE retirement because quarterly I get a check for everything that I've ever appeared on. And some of them have been pretty good. Like I said, it's my wrestling retirement. And I believe I'm the only wrestler who gets that.
Yeah, there's a lot of footage in the 80s with you and Gorilla, you and Vince doing commentary. That was actually, to be honest, I'm obviously a huge fan to the point where I went and did it myself. But that time was the heyday. That time is what made me become a wrestler.
No, I won't. Remember, no. Every generation has a heyday, like all sports, like everything.
Yeah.
There's stars today. I mean, look at the Steve Austin era that came after us. That was huge with The Rock. Look how big The Rock is today. Dwayne Johnson. And so every era has its big stars. It's no different than, call us Babe Ruth and all that, or call us maybe somebody else in baseball who set the table for it to happen for young people today. And young people today are making probably 10 times the money that we made.
Yeah, it seems that back then more guys on the roster were stars. Guys that weren't heavyweight, like guys like Tito Santana and Greg the Hammer.
Well, we'll get to my book in a minute.
Yeah, for sure. We're going to get to all the book.
The difference. No, I'll explain to you the difference, in my opinion. I can't watch it today. I don't like the style of it. Call me old-fashioned, whatever. But I don't like the idea that the guys stand in the ring, yell at each other with mics, and then beat each other up. I liked it better in the old days where you had a Gene Okerlund, who you spoke through him, and then the only time the people saw you was the night of the big fight. They didn't see you do it on TV, standing in rings opposite each other with big coming down ramps. And plus, you can clearly tell everything today is written. It was way better in my day. All they used to tell me was, Jesse, you got Tito Santana, 2 minutes Denver. And I was allowed to create on my own. I was allowed to create what I wanted Jesse the Body Ventura to be. Today they got writers. It's all scripted. You know what happened? Wrestling turned corporate.
Yeah.
No doubt. And
and what you have today is corporate wrestling, where in my day it was just the Verge. The corporation was taking over, but it still allowed the old way of all of these, because we were required ourselves to get ourselves over.
Yeah.
And you did that by using your own mind and being able to create a character you created. Today, Vince and the upper echelon of writers and corporate this and that, and it started when we started working with NBC on Saturday Night Main Event. I'll give you the quick story. The first night I got there was this huge notebook with a script in it. And I called over Dick Ebersol, the head of NBC. I said, Dick, what's this? He said, that's your script. I said, Dick, 2 years ago, you didn't give a rat's ass about wrestling. I said, now you're going to tell me you got somebody that can write for Jesse the Body Ventura? No, you don't.
Yeah.
Only I can be Jesse the Body Ventura. Nobody else can be. Dick was smart enough. He looked at me and said, never mind, get rid of that thing. Do it your way. I said, thank you, Dick. And that's why you had the great stuff on Saturday Night Live, or Saturday Night's Main Event.
Yeah.
Beautiful,
because
man.
I wasn't scripted by a bunch of writers.
Hey, Jesse, you've never been scripted, man. You've been one of those guys who's gone against the grain your entire life, and you did it in the political field, and you do it now with the big fight for legalization of marijuana. You have a new book out, Jesse Ventura's Marijuana Manifesto. I think it's like your 8th book. You're a nonstop worker, and between your royalty checks and between your pensions and everything you've done in life, I'm sure you don't need to continue to make a difference. You could sit back in whatever house you want to sit back in and chill out. But your whole mission in life is to really go out and be an advocate and do things that are right. You hate both parties when it comes to politics, from what I understand. You're sick and tired of all the bullshit and all the corporate bureaucracy, all the assholes, all these politicians who seem to be lying. There's nothing authentic anymore, except when it comes to you. And before I ask you many questions on the book, because I have many questions on the book, Jesse.
Wait. And imagine that. The authenticity comes from a wrestler.
Well, I do imagine that, because you're salt of the year. Oh, I see, because it was was a scripted
the
outcome.
The irony of it. I'm laughing over it.
Yeah,
but you've just been real guy. And why didn't you run this year for politics? So many people. Why didn't you go and run this year?
Because I didn't want the job.
Okay.
You got to be in 100%.
Yep.
Yeah.
If you're not in 100%, you're cheating yourself, and if you're not in 100%, you're cheating everyone that would vote for you.
You have any regrets though?
No. When it came down, I wouldn't give up my life to go back to jail, because those jobs are like jail. You're under public scrutiny 24/7. You have no private life whatsoever, hardly. Everything, you work hours upon hours upon hours. It's 4 years, and this was just governor. I can imagine president. And so I've already given 14 years of my life. I did 6 years in the United States Navy. I did 4 years as a mayor. I did 4 years as a governor. Okay, that's 14 years of my life I've given to public service. And I just couldn't go in 100%, and I'm cheating myself. Now, who's to say 2020, if Hillary screws up, like I know she will, maybe Jesse Ventura will lead the charge of the two factions, the Trump faction and the Bernie faction. The people, they want the same thing, but they're the left and the right, so therefore they can't get together, and that's how they're being defeated.
No doubt, man. It's the compromise
what we want is a clean house in Washington.
Yep.
But the problem is the uniting can't happen. I've seen it before with third-party movements. When I won in Minnesota, I tried to bring all the smaller parties together and unite as one. We had one thing in common: campaign finance reform. Get the dirty money out of politics. None of us third-party people use it. None of us. We're not bought by corporations. Do you know I only raised $300,000 to become governor?
That's unbelievable. That's unbelievable.
$300,000. I actually made more money doing the job than what I spent to get it. That's why I could look my dad in the eye today. My dad said to me once, he was a WW2 veteran, 6 bronze battle stars. He said to me one day, all politicians are crooks. I said, Dad, how can you make a blanket statement like that? I was a teenager then. And he said, easy. I said, how? He said, because they spend $1 million for a job that only pays $100,000.
That's a very good point, man. I never thought about
that. And I sat from his 8th grade education, because that's all my dad went to school. But I sat and thought about that, and I said, he's right. Well, I could look him in the eye. He was gone when I won. But I could look my dad in the eye and say, guess what? I only raised $300,000, Dad. I made $480,000. I got paid $120,000 a year as governor. 4 years meant $480,000 to $300,000. So I made more money than I spent to get the job.
Yeah, and people loved you when you were doing it. You're so outspoken and you're so good at getting messages across. And your latest book, Jesse Ventura's Married. Go ahead.
The book.
Yeah.
Let me tell you why I wrote the book.
That's what I want to know.
Is this in Canada now?
We're in Canada, baby. Well, we're all over. We're SiriusXM.
You Canadians, you get the opportunity here to stick it to the U.S. Get out in front on this issue. I hear you're going to vote on it for complete legalization. Do it. Don't fall into the United States' shadow anymore. Do what's right. Now I'll tell you why I'm focused on this. Marijuana gave me my quality of life back. It was gone. Through an epileptic seizure disorder. It wasn't me, but it was somebody, and I was dealing with it on a daily, weekly, 24-hour basis. My life was gone. And so was the other person's. And the other person went on 4 different pharmaceutical medicines, one after the other from doctors. None of it worked. All of it had horrible side effects. Took the person to Colorado in desperation. Got what they call medical marijuana, 3 drops under the tongue 3 times a day. 2 years ago, now it's in pill form. 2 years now, this person's been seizure-free.
Good for you, man. I'm glad you're doing well.
And marijuana did it. Marijuana is solely responsible for curing it and keeping it away now and giving me my quality of life back, so I can be on here bitching to you about politics and actually possibly get involved again. But this is what I've been dealing with for the last 4 years, is this epileptic seizure condition, which is now for 2 years has been gone. And marijuana did it. There's other people out there suffering. They already know it would help post-traumatic stress. It would help concussion issues in the National Football League, and I'm sure you got them in the Canadian League too. It would help. It would help. Read Steve Cubby's intro. This guy had non-operable cancer, adrenal cancer. They give him a 5-year death sentence. He was given 5 years to live. That was 35 years ago. Marijuana's kept him alive and killed the cancer in him.
Jesse,
and that's what it's attributed to. This is insane. This is a plant that was, get this, if Thomas Jefferson and George Washington were alive today, they would be raided by the DEA. They'd be doing 10 to 12 years in the federal penitentiary for being major drug dealers because they've lied to us in history. Jefferson and Washington, this was their big cash crop. This was the economic engine that drove the economy for the first 160 years of the United States existence.
I didn't realize that facts like this.
I learned all this. We've got 40 pages of notes in this book. Everything is backed up. And I learned all this, and I'm astounded when I'm reading it. I'm going, my God. In fact, the British made us grow it because they needed it, and you could actually trade it in lieu of money.
That's wild, man. That's a great barter system. I'm part of a barter network. Nothing as good as that one.
Yeah.
Jesse Ventura.
Well, the thing is, then it was made because of William Randolph Hearst in the 1930s, the late 30s, when it was white America in charge. They used race. Black and brown people smoke this devil weed, and you don't want to be like them. And they scared white America into making marijuana illegal, and it is a shame because let me say this to all the religious people out there. If you're a religious person, then you believe God made everything, right? Well, what right do we have to destroy something God would make?
It comes out of the ground. It's a plant.
And obviously God made marijuana for a reason then, because this thing, Willie Nelson uses it for biodiesel fuel in his buses. He don't just smoke it.
Is that just him like blowing smoke into the gas?
We wish, but no, not really.
No, I love it.
Willie talks the talk and walks the walk.
No, Willie's the king. Hey, Jesse, one of the issues I really wanted to ask you about, because I find the hypocrisy behind it just wild. How in America they're spending billions every year to fight against marijuana, yet it's legal in in some form or another in about 23 states plus DC. You see what's going on in Denver. How long do you think the DEA can really put up a fight against something that is legal? Like it's so peculiar to me, that conundrum there, that dichotomy, that difference.
Because it's still illegal federally. Where you claim to have legal marijuana in Colorado, if the feds want to come in, they can shut it down tomorrow.
Do you think that will ever change?
Because learn how laws work. It's like you know what flows downhill, so do laws. Federal laws take priority over state laws, take priority over local laws. Give you an example. Did you all see the movie Fargo, Brainerd, Minnesota?
Way in the day, man, with William H. Macy.
All right, well, anyway, Brainerd, Minnesota, about 25 years ago, did not want to put fluoride in their water. The federal government came in and made them, even though the people voted and said, we don't want fluoride in our water. The federal government came in and just said, you don't have a choice. Now, do you know why fluoride? Do you know who first put fluoride in water?
No, I don't.
Well, they tell you it's for your teeth.
Yeah, well, I know why.
They told us with back in the 50s. Well, why would you put a chemical in water for your teeth? Your parents should teach you how to brush your teeth and gargle with mouthwash. You don't need a chemical in your water. Here's the deal. The first people ever put fluoride in the water, the Nazis.
Gee, that's pretty frightening.
Yeah, that's what I say. I go, wait a minute, why would we do anything they do?
Yeah, well, like literally anything.
Here's the reason, guys. Fluoride is 90% around that. I think it's about that, the major ingredient of Prozac.
Wow.
Calms us down.
There you go. Now, so it's okay to put fluoride in all of our water, but marijuana's illegal.
Okay, so Jesse, talk to me a little bit about marijuana, because I'll tell you, as a guy, I'm fully for the legalization. You got to understand, the platform we have here on SiriusXM is completely about helping anyone in any way possible. And I know over concrete studies, time over time again, and you mentioned also post-traumatic stress disorder. I have soldiers come on the show often and talk about how it's really truly helped them. It helps them sleep. It helps them get through their day-to-day lives. And, personally speaking, Jesse, I have only two concerns with it, and this is what I want to figure out. How can we get these two concerns taken care of while we make it fully legal? One of them being is, how do we determine what strand works for each person? Is that sort of a trial by nature, like any other kind of drug?
Well,
not nature, but trial.
Wait a minute now.
Yeah.
Let's look at it in the terms of the two other legal drugs,
Okay.
alcohol and tobacco.
Yep.
You got alcohol, you got multiple forms of alcohol.
Sure.
You can buy a liqueur that might be only 15%, or you can go get rum for 151% and get knocked into Tuesday. So it's no different than alcohol. You got beer, you have wine, you have all these alcohol products, all in different alcoholic values. The same would hold true for strains of marijuana.
Yeah.
You treat it, and like I've had people say to me, okay, if you legalize it, what do I do when I catch my 13-year-old with it? The answer's so simple. Do you know what you do? It's called parent.
I'll be a parent. Okay, so that leads me into
Wait, let me say this. You treat that child that you just caught at age 13 with marijuana, treat him the same way you'd treat him if you caught him with tobacco, or the same way you would treat him if you caught him with alcohol. He's not old enough yet. He needs to be made aware of that, but that's a choice you make as an adult.
You don't share it with them?
Parent, you're not going to have a problem.
Listen, I completely concur with you there, Jesse Ventura. My only fear is this, okay, and this is because I just brought in a little baby boy.
Come on.
No, hang on, dude. I have a baby boy. Okay, he's 14 months old, and there's a ton of dispensaries right where I live. I've talked about this with other advocates of marijuana. Is that where the dispensaries are? It turns out to be like little cliques of people that end up hanging out there and smoking a ton of marijuana. And when I stroll them through it on, when we're going through in the neighborhoods and going shopping or going out for brunch on a Saturday morning, or sometimes 1 p.m. even late afternoon, I worry about and the same way I worry about secondhand smoke for cigarettes. Is there a way we can control that at least? Only because it truly is mind-altering, and we can't ignore that part of it.
But wait, first of all, they're outside, aren't they?
Yeah, no, they're outside, but you can,
okay, they're out. Would you feel the same? Would you have the same feeling if they were smoking cigarettes outside?
Worse. I think it should be illegal. I think smoking cigarettes should be...
Smoke cigarettes outside?
Yeah, I think no one should smoke cigarettes outside. That's my opinion.
Well, then where do they smoke them then? All the addicts that are heavily addicted to them.
Well, I mean, I sadly, I think within their own car.
You're going to ask somebody who is so fiercely addicted...
Yeah.
Because tobacco is one of the most addictive substances on the planet.
Do it in your car.
Tell these addicts that they can't smoke outside.
Yeah, do it in their car, because secondhand smoke kills people. That's been proven too, Jesse. And why put other people in harm's way?
Not outside.
Well,
not outside. I think you should be far more worried outside about exhaust fumes from cars.
Okay, that's good to know. Okay, that's I'm just going to wear...
You're walking outside and you got all these cars running, pumping their exhaust fumes into the... You need to understand something. In a free society, there are certain risks you have to accept.
Fair enough.
And one of those risks of freedom is the freedom to be stupid. That comes with it, too. I used to tell people you can't legislate stupidity. Well, and you have to learn that we're people, we're going to do stupid things. But you can't make every stupid thing against the law or against society or this, that. If they're outside and they're smoking, come on. That's a little far too reaching when you got all these cars.
I only look at it as with like a little kid now, man. My mind's changed a lot in the last 14 months.
Move to the country.
Yeah, sorry?
Move to the country.
I could move to the country, except that my office and my studio is not quite there.
There you go.
Are you a smoker as well, Jesse?
No.
But you don't mind people that smoke? Sorry?
I don't drink either. I don't condemn people who smoke as long as they smoke outside. And I don't condemn people who drink. That's their business too. I don't drink either.
I drink a ton. But my drinking can't impact someone around me because they don't get some of that within their system.
Oh, yes, it can.
Well, usually just because I'm better in bed.
Behavior from drinking could impact a lot of people.
Fair enough. I hear you there. Let's get back to you. The Marijuana Manifesto. It's a really well read, well written book. And do you think we will see full legalization of marijuana within our lifetimes? And I guess our lifetimes differ.
Here's the deal, especially in the States. There's an underlying rebellion taking place in the States where they want Washington cleaned out. The Trump people and the Bernie Sanders people actually stood for the same thing. But one was far right, the other was far left, and they'll never come together on it. I, in the middle, can see this. Mm-hmm. Well, the marijuana issue is an issue now in the States. Over 50% of the people want full legalization. Yet the feds say no. Well, this is an issue where the people can rise up and send a message to the federal government, and the message is this: you work for us. We don't work for you. You're not our parent, and we'll tell you what should be legal and what should not be legal. And remember, you work for us. This is an issue that the people could rise up with and really send a message, because Washington don't want it legal. They make too much money on keeping it illegal.
Couldn't they make money through taxes and things like they do on cigarettes, back to cigarettes? Couldn't they just...
you'd make a fortune. Denver, Colorado this year has $300 million new dollars to spend on anything they want. The state of Washington State, the first thing they saw was a 15% drop in their statewide judicial budget. I was a governor. That's mammoth. That's huge. And there's no bad side to it. It's jobs waiting to happen. Let me put it to you this way. What could be more American when the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and Betsy Ross's original flag are all made out of marijuana?
That sounds awesome, man. Or edible, like just an edible.
Here's my point. Come on. If those people were all stoned back then when they wrote the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, I think we need to get our leaders stoned again.
Well, I mean, I agree with you
because
there.
They did a damn good job.
Well, listen, we only have 2 minutes, Jesse Ventura. You're a guy I could talk to for 3 straight hours very easily, and that's the part about sucks at these quick little junket interviews is you're promoting an amazing book, The Marijuana Manifesto, and everyone loves you, dude. And I'll say the only thing that really truly frightens me is that this world, as much as we all say we're being unified and there's so much diversity, at least we say things like that in Canada, I believe we're getting further apart because everybody is so afraid. Other than when I say everyone, there's a few outspoken ones such as yourself. They're afraid to say what's on their minds in fear of backlash. And that's the one message we got to get across to make change. Don't be fearful of saying something.
We can do that. If we legalize pot, I've told people 1,000 times, if you got a troublemaker, give them a joint, a pizza, and a Jimi Hendrix tape.
Yes, old school, man. The way it should be, and relax. Just don't do it. Just don't smoke in front of kids. That's all I ask.
Well, no. Here's why: you drink in front of kids.
I know. I got.
You treat it the same way. You treat it the same way as alcohol and tobacco. It's a medication. You treat it the same way.
Jesse, I appreciate you being on the show, man. Can we get you back in a couple of weeks again?
Work in Canada.
Yeah.
Vote for legalization, you Canadians.
And go and get your book, Jesse Ventura's Marijuana Manifesto.
On the show.
Dude, we'll get you back on in a couple weeks. Have a longer call.
All right, bye-bye.
Okay, cheers, my man. Thank you to Jesse Ventura.
The Todd Shapiro Show. Turn up your speakers, especially if you're over 65. SiriusXM 168, Canada Laughs.